Hello, I'd like to welcome you to Meditate to Resolve Suffering. This video is titled Self-Imposed Suffering. How you create excessive suffering. First begin with life. Life is suffering. That's it. All your major philosophies, from the Greeks, your religions, all say life is suffering. Buddhism, Hinduism, involved. How you address that fact and what you do with it. And why does it have to have suffering? Growing up, you're telling me that no one suffered growing up, the growing pains of physical, emotional conflicts involved, dealing with your environment, working long hours, whatever. It doesn't matter. The fact is, without suffering, we have nothing to overcome. We have to grow up, become adults. That's overcoming your childhood. That's setting a whole new standard of responsibility. So really appreciate suffering as an incentive to learn more, to grow, to be happy, to really appreciate things in life, to really get the moments of other people's relationships, because we all suffer. That's a fact. Buddha says it well with the four truths. The first truth is we're all born. We all get sick, we all get old, and we all die. Those are the four noble truths in Buddhism. Christianity has similar aspects of suffering. So does a number of Hinduism. All this implies that life is suffering. It's a vale of tears. Some overemphasize it in some ways because there's moments of great joys and great sorrows. I've known best at my age. But the whole idea of suffering is to learn to deal with life, to become more than what you are. We grow as a person. The difference between animals and humans, I'm going to go real quick. Animals live in their brain. We live in our mind, which is outside the brain. Understand, I have a whole video on that. I think it's video series 4 on the mind. This is why you got free will. This is why you can change. This is why you can overcome the damage of alcoholism or other drug abuses. Now, let's get into addiction real quick and describe what is addiction. There's two types of addiction, basically. One is inserting some form of chemical within your body. That's drinking it, that's shooting up, but it's a chemical reaction. The other addiction I'm going to deal with is a mind to body. What you visualize that stimulates certain specific, if you want to say, excitement, which produces a chemical reaction in the body and can cause other fixations involved. But that's another story on that one. But this is just strictly for addictions of alcoholism, drug use, but I'm just going to go after alcoholism. Now, understanding self-imposed suffering. When you drink to excess, when you consistently drink, your passion is more for the alcohol than for your family. Your passion for even smoking marijuana is more to relax, so you don't even work anymore. Basically, all addiction chemicals I know of are depressants. In some form or manner, they make you relax afterwards or during. Yeah, I'm picking on alcohol as a choice because it's so pervasive one and it is so subtle and long term. It's unbelievable that most people don't consider. And if you define yourself, like you're going to AA, you define yourself as damaged from alcohol, how do you resolve that? Comes into play because it requires more suffering to get out of it, to change, to crawl out of it involved. And we're going to talk about how do you do it. And meditating offers an opportunity to enhance your strength, your energy, your focus, to reshape your body, your mind, and your spirit to the divine. Now, humans have 4 energy channels. I talk about one of my other videos in series, 4 energy channels, just as a repeat. One you can see, one you can't see, one you create, and divine. Those are energy channels. We work off energies. Now, another characteristic between animals and humans, animals live in their brain. Humans have a mind which is outside the brain. That's why we have free will. We choose, we're aware. The mind, if you distill it, take everything away, get down, has two characteristics. One, awareness, and consciousness. Those are two basic fundamental attributes within the mind itself. Then you build from there in relationship to cultures, events, and a lot of other things. Language. We'll get into language later. Language is very important because it directs energy and it creates your emotional state. So really understand self-imposed suffering. Now, I'm going to talk about alcohol because why do people drink? Give me a beer to relax. Alcohol, they make movies or they make songs about, oh, drinking to kill your suffering. And the next day you wake up with a hangover, your body's feeling really bad, you're suffering. So every which way you do it, you're gonna, if you drink alcohol in a consistent way that alters your temperament, alters your mental focus, your mind, your brain, your body, and your spirit. Think of spirit involved. You got to remember what is a human being. We're spiritual beings. That is the context what makes us over animals. We're spiritual beings. We create our emotional, physical, mental reality on an ongoing basis. We learn, we expand that aspect of us. We expand our range. You take drugs or you take alcohol, you stop it, you shrink it, you contain it. You cannot be spiritual and you cannot have love if you're an alcoholic or you're drinking under the influence of alcohol. Now, really understanding what alcohol does in the sense of the self, on a chemistry level. First off, now I'm just going by what I've been read or told. So if I'm in error, correct me if you would. But the way I understand, alcohol, I was told, bonds with water. In other words, alcohol goes into every cell in your body. Where there's water, the system you drink enough, it goes through there. That's why you don't feel pain. That's why in the old days, people drink so much and then go get a tooth pulled. It's not half as pain involved. So alcohol is placed as a help lower pain level, so it numbs your body. Many people drink a lot, had a bar fight, didn't feel it getting hit, and the next day they feel it after the alcohol is out of your system. But the damage to the cells is still there. Over time, you don't feel as much. You cannot feel your body. If it goes into the cells, what you're doing. Now, here's another fact under any, if you want to say heroin or alcohol stuff, anything you do under the influence of alcohol, I'm just using that, being happy, watching Facebook, creates an experience. You cannot repeat that without the alcohol. That's the dilemma when you're trying to recover after years. There's a real split. So you started drinking at 18, and at 40 you decide to quit. The gap there between having two realities, the sober reality and the alcohol reality. That is the problem you have to face because it's a maturity process. What are the other dynamic aspects that alcohol drinking does for you, against you, that hurts your spirit? The fact is, the more alcohol you drink, the more self-centered you become. Your pride increases. There's two words, pride and sloth. Those are two great words. It's in the Christian, put it in Christian context. Pride separates you from God and others. The more prideful you are, the more you do. It's like me and nobody else. And all pride is defined as based on fear. Fear drives pride. That's it. So understanding that, and if you want to come calm, one of the great goals of people, humans, across all faith is to become calm and to lower one's fear, not to have fear. Believe in God. You really believe in God? How you cannot have that much fear. It neutralizes fear involved. You believe in order or disorder. The more disorder you see around you, fear evolves. The more order you see, the calmer you can be. So understanding when you drink the different effects it has on you, and if you get married and have a family, but to you and God. Because the more you drink, you turn your way from God, you turn your way from faith, and you turn away from love. And love is in your heart. You become cold. You can't under alcohol. Like when I was teaching all the people that have drugs, when you talk to someone, you always, first thing you ask is, are they sober or are they drunk? And you don't want to talk to them when they're drunk, because whatever they say when they're drunk, they don't, when they come sober, they go the other way. So you're creating two personalities, one alcohol personality and one, you want to say, sober. Now, understanding alcohol. Now, the Greeks had it really done well. In fact, used to be, I don't know if it still is, when you sell alcohol, you find a liquor store, you get a license. And what does the license say? It doesn't say you sell alcohol, it says you're selling spirits. Why did it say that? The Greeks said, when you drink, you replace your spirit, that's your personality, outgoing, with the alcohol spirit. Wait a minute. And there's a real good country and western song I like about drinking beer. And he goes on, when he drinks alcohol, so like whiskey, he's this way. If he drinks bourbon, this way. If he drinks vodka, he's that way. And he likes beer. Beer makes him calm. Now, the subtlety of alcohol is so finite in the sense that, well, people give me a beer, okay, it's home after hard work, give me a beer, I want to relax. Even though you have a home, you have kids, once you start drinking, it becomes oblivious, it becomes weak, you come, oh, I just want to watch TV. So you got two stimulus there, the beer and the TV makes you excited, and you avoid every other because it's challenging, and the weaker you become. With alcohol or drugs, your emotional state is altered. And most of the time, it creates one, self-centeredness. Therefore, you have no love for anybody but yourself. In a sense, you defend, you're ready to fight, whatever. There's many people that, in Hollywood is a perfect example. Money, no problem. They get money, but they get onto drugs like cocaine, and they become brutal. People don't want to work. The first thing is, are they high? I don't want to be around them. And the damage it does to everyone's spirit, that's them, that's their personality. And I use the word attitude. Now, understanding what an attitude is. How does one create an attitude? It is a physical state, a physical, emotional, mental state of projection to other people and to oneself. Whatever attitude you are, you're feeling it, and then you use words that you've learned to project it. And then the feedback from others. And any words you use, you hear it yourself. This is who you are. The word attitude is very important to me. Because if you want to change, you truly want to change, what do you want to change into? And I'll deal with that later. And the process of altering, how do you resolve your suffering, even self-imposed suffering, using meditating to resolve the effects and be more than you were before. Understanding when you take drugs like alcohol, get into it, just go to any AA meeting and hear the sad stories they have of what they damaged, from kids to the marriage, or to where the wife doesn't trust, she didn't drink, or you promoted her to go to alcohol or drugs, and she suffered from that too. So there's no good drinking, having a beer once a week or once a month or something like that. Fine. But when you have consistency, I had a friend of mine, he had cancer. He couldn't drink. He couldn't drink for 3 months. You know, but man, he was counting the hours, literally down to the minute when he can take his first beer. That's how intense one's focus in life. You don't focus on God like that, or on the divine, or your wife, or your family like that. No, you focus on something as a depressant, and it depresses your energy. You have to understand when I say depressing energy. Now, I define emotions. What makes an emotion? First off, you have to understand, emotions are created through words. Whatever words you have, and you have an emotional context to react to those words, you generate that force through your body and words outwards. So understanding emotions is very important to resolve suffering, to recover from self-imposed suffering. So really understanding what is emotions and how it's created from an energy program. Now, to prove my point, when you're really, really sick, I used to say, I mean, you're just laying in bed and you have no energy. Try to be emotional. Don't care. As we're talking to them, this is more for guys than ladies. But anyway, just imagine someone comes in, you're just laying in bed and going barely, and you can't be emotional. And someone stole your car, your girlfriend ran off, whatever, and says, wait till I get over this and I'll respond. You cannot generate the emotional state. So understanding where your body creates the energy to be emotions. And that's very important, because the more you calm your body's energy down, the more you can lower intensity of emotions and redirect it another way. We'll get into that in relationship to compulsiveness. What is a compulsive behavior? And why do you have a compulsive behavior? So we appreciate emotions, and here's a clue. I take this position. All emotions from effects of accidents or anything, events, are in your body, but the thoughts and memories of it is in your head. And I split the two to difference, how they play between the two. And I use the example of an anxiety attack, which is an emotional state the mind does not understand what's happening. So you can say, how does meditating can affect that? Because in a meditative state, you're working with your energy. You're working it through the body, the breath. There's 4 parts to this, to meditate. When you know you're truly meditating, which is a verb. Meditation is a noun. That's how I use it. So really understanding a verb is activity. A noun is a thing. And I'll get into that later, but I'm just working on the word meditate is a physical act. There's 4 parts. There's one I had talked about in another video. One is breath. That's a key element there. Then the body. Then the mind, the brain and mind. Put the two together. And then spirituality. Those are all 4 parts that exist. The 4th part is a choice. You can actually meditate to increase your energy, to heal yourself. If you have divine energy combined with it, you're blending your energy with divine energy, that amplifies something. It's like supercharging an engine. And how much you can go to, that's a question that I cannot answer. It's individual. Meditation, I was trying to explain the difference between the two. People get them confused. Meditation is the process, the mental process of meditating to achieve a goal. It's like, if you meditate, it's like, imagine a car, beautiful car. I mean, you could see all the, but until you put gas in it, it doesn't move. Meditation can offer that framework to accelerate the benefits of meditating ability. But meditating skill, those 4 parts, how you put them together, is very important, because that's going to determine the amount of dynamic force that you can put into a program, a meditating program. That's all it is, because meditating is abstract concepts to stimulate and direct the body and emotions during that state. So back to self-imposed suffering. And that's a key element. And it's so sad to see that. I see so many people get in that state and they don't know how to get out. Now I'm going to do some other concept, because a lot of people I've seen trying to recover, they have these impulses. Impulses are basic energy that is channeled for an emotional state to be released, that you train yourself to be that way. There's a real physical element of shaping your body, shapes your energy channels. I said you have breath, body, and mind and body. But the 4 energy channels, you have 4 energy channels in your body. One you can see, one you create, one that you can't see, and one you divine. The one you can't see is basically the myofascia and acupuncture channels in the lymph system. Those are 3 words. They're words on there. Energy channels, that's why needles work on you, the acupuncture system. But then you have fascia, part of it, and then you have the lymph system involved there. Those are all energy channels that we hold. And during your life, you shape them to be able to express yourself in situations in life. You shape them for your alcohol events involved. So basic compulsiveness is your body's producing energy. Your body produces energy, not your mind. Yeah, the more you think, the less you feel. The more you feel, the less you think. So your body is producing energy, and how you shape and channel that energy to an emotional state creates an impulse. Because what your goal is to release that energy, to express that energy. It's like, I'm going to hit something, then after you hit, whatever, you're calmer. Or you go run. Or you take another drug, or repeat your drug activities because it calms you down. You don't have that impulse anymore involved. And some people get so in love with their state, alcohol or drug state, over being normal, because they don't have the energy, like cocaine, or something gives you more enthusiasm, you don't have less fear. Basically, we're dealing with fear. People and pride and fear go together. You have to understand fear. In fact, my next video is going to be on fear and how alcohol numbs fear. And so you become braver, or you have less impulses to do this or that would be harmful. Now, people take risks all the time, doing things, driving fast or whatever. And that's part of our nature, to take risks and therefore define our suffering. So we take a risk of our life or our emotional state involved. Example, motorcycle jumping bridges and stuff. You're overcoming your physical fear of being hurt or killed. For emotional fear, getting married is overcoming your emotional fear of doing that. Involved for greater benefit or satisfaction. For jumping over a bridge or something, you get a sense of accomplishment. Marriage is a lifetime thing that you'll be comfortable to help you expand your emotional range. For men, it expands their emotional range. For women, it focuses their emotional range. So it's two opposites. They are just opposites. I have a whole thing one of these days I'll do on male and female and why they need to be together for their mutual benefit involved. So back to self-imposed suffering. Now, understanding what you did to yourself when you got to a point where you have to be an AA and you stop. When you stop drinking, what should you do immediately? How should you prevent you from drinking again? How should you reshape yourself so you don't have the compulsive to drink involved? Fighting not to drink is a choice, as AA says that. But resolving that where it's not even a choice anymore because you just don't think about it or feel it or do it, that's another level of development. Now, what does alcohol or drugs do to the individual? Now, let's go into your senses. I say there's 6 senses. Most people think there's 5. I take the yoga position, there's 6. The 6th sense is your mind involved, because the mind is a sense that you can create an illusion. You can visualize yourself in a garden, close your eyes, and you can totally relax. The more you visualize it, the more your body responds to that. That's why you have a placebo effect. When you understand a placebo effect, you understand what I'm saying about the power of the mind to direct your energy to alter your physical state involved. So back to, okay, what's the first things you should do when you stop? Well, 1, you can't hang out with your friends, alcohol friends. That's why you go to AA. 2, you have compulsiveness you have to deal with in the beginning. That's what AA helps you to deal with, the anger or the frustration you have. Again, you have the absence of God to help you on that. You have to overcome your pride. 3, you have you're protecting yourself from fear within pride itself, because you screwed up. You messed up too many times, and we have the word regret. The thing about being human, you have 3 states in life. You can visualize here and now, the past, and the future. You can project yourself in the future. You can be in the right now to be aware of things with your mind. Or the mind can go back in your past and remember things that were good and conflictive. And there, when you do repass, remember what it does do to your body. It reshapes your body for that emotional state. The mind is just there looking for energy to reshape itself. And fear is one of the most powerful force. And the only thing more powerful is love. I'll get into that. And that's why you block love to protect your fear. That's called scrupulosity. If you look that word up, you have to look at it within the religious context of Catholicism, because it's one of the things you do. Now, understanding what it is to be human as a spiritual being. We're not born perfect. None of us are. And I like the idea of original sin. Then we have our sins of our parents. If you want to say our defects or genetics come involved there. So when we're born, we have a lot of forces. We're not just blank sheets. We have a lot of forces playing on us, from our intelligence to impulses, and we inherit from our ancestries involved. So our mind, our self, has a lot to work with beginning at the very beginning. If you're male or female, whatever, on that. So that's the good news to me. You're not a blank sheet. You have challenges that you have to overcome to reshape, to become greater than you are at the moment as a baby. And alcohol or drugs always retard you there. It prevents you involved. So really understand the level of challenges you have is good. It's only when you have self-imposed suffering, it's when you dig a hole, it takes time. Now, value time. Time is something you can't replace. That's why I say you never go back. You resolve things in the moment. You resolve the effects of alcoholism or cocaine or in the moment. You can live in the moment. The Buddhists have a great concept. I really liked it when I heard it. Is just imagine you walk through a forest and you get this open field. You're walking along on the path and you're feeling good, you're enjoying the weather, and all of a sudden an arrow, poison arrow, hits you in the back. Now the question is, what should you do first? Should you turn around, look who shot you, spend the minutes, 10 minutes of being upset that you got shot, someone deal? Or should you remove the arrow, but then you have to remove the poison? It's two different things involved. You can have an event that was really bad, But how much poison did it put in you that you have to take time to remove yourself? And that's where religions come in to deal with issues of fear, purpose involved, give you strength involved. And Buddhism, I'll get into that later, has its benefits and its limitations, versus Catholicism involved and Christianity overall. But that's another story, that's another video. But I'm just dealing with what you have to understand, who you are as a spiritual being trying to resolve suffering. Now, the very word resolving, please look it up and understand how I'm using it, because you actually have 3 characteristics to resolve anything. One, you can fix it, accept it just like it is, or alter it to some degree where you just accept it. Those are 3 states of resolving your suffering in life on it. It's like being blind. Okay, I'm blind. Now what can I do to enhance myself? Now, the other word you have to really appreciate in life. This is a characteristic in all cultures. The Greeks had it down well, and the Christian faith, the Catholic faith, extends this to the highest level, to the divine. And the word is virtue. When you're under alcoholism, you're under drugs, you have no virtue. There's nothing sacred other than your state. You're totally involved in yourself and what's going on and people around you and stuff, and somewhat fearful because you're doing something illegal or people look at you weird or whatever. And what impression are you leaving on them? You become immune to that concept. But the word virtue is key element to recover, to bring yourself out and be above all the things that happen to you. And it requires understanding. Now the Greeks had 5 concepts of what's a virtuous person. And Aristotle talks about it. Plato really talks about more. So understanding we're always striving to be a better person. Do you want to interact with people? Or do you want to just live in a cave and be sour? Why not be happy or be calm and appreciate life? Because then you've got joy involved. Making joy out of the simplest things, of seeing a forest of green, of appreciating and stuff. So understanding virtue, you have to understand the word reverence. Under a disordered society, ideas, under alcoholism, whatever, you have nothing sacred. Your body's not sacred. People do the dumbest things, go running through nude under different drugs. Under PCP, way back in the 80s, some woman under PCP actually got their child in a hot iron, ironed him. I mean, stories of people's behavior under PCP back in the 80s was just abomination. It was just so sad. They're not there. You really want to be so far out of it. When you do that, you don't even remember the damage you did to others, to yourself, plus what it does to your brain, your body, and your attitude and your emotional state. You're putting a gap. You have to appreciate, if you're not striving to advance your love for life, for others, you're not striving, overcoming suffering, overcoming falls, and how to find the words that you can develop. But the word virtue and reverence go together for your strength to become calm, one, to joy, to appreciate, to be greater, and help others in life. Especially your family, if you have a family involved. That really, the kids grew up with you being drunk and all that. They still remember how much they felt when it's like I heard someone told me a story, is they always look for their father to come home from work. If he came home between 5 and 6, they knew he was drinking. But if it was after 6, they go to bed. They don't want to be around him when he's drinking. because he's not the same. He's not the night. And whatever he says under the alcohol influence, he doesn't remember when he's sober, or it doesn't have as much importance. Oh, I remember I said that, but it's not meaningful. I can't do it. So really understanding it dulls the brain first. Therefore, it dulls the mind. When you drink alcohol, you're affecting your whole body. You're affecting your energy. It's a depressant. Therefore, the mind is duller. Therefore, if you want to say brain, my mistake. Brain is duller. Therefore, your mind is there. Your mind's awareness is relevant to your whole condition, your body. How much tension or stress you have in your shoulders, how much tension in your body. That is the awareness that the mind feels and works with in relationship to consciousness involved. And how do you alter that? How do you really change and be serene? Because that's basically when you're drinking, you're coming very soon. I've seen great alcoholics just sitting at the bar, no one around, just like in a state of forgetfulness because the traumas around them, the brain, they saw so much that the mind can't handle it. And they just want to be in a stupor state because emotionally it just is hurting them so much. This is where the word meditating and where you meditate, and then what meditations do you want to use to alter your physical, mental state, emotional state is the question mark. And we're divine beings. We have life, we have awareness after our bodies are gone. I don't care if you're a Chinese in the Taoist position, you're down in Australia in the Aborigine culture, they have spirits. And they say, ancestor spirits or whatever. So in other words, there's more to you than an animal after you die. You're not just nothing. The Greeks had it very well. They had Hades for their hell for certain people, and they had the Elysian field. All these societies have the same state of feeling, and virtue is one of the words in these cultures that exist because you are judged by your virtues. If you're just an outright liar or one knows it, you're dependable of lying and stuff, and it hurts the family. How much truth can you lie? If a woman lies to you, your wife lies to you and stuff, how much trust do you have for that person? So really understanding the words self-imposed suffering, and it's like crawling out of it. As somebody said, there's an old song, it's so easy to fall in love. I say, it's so easy to get in trouble, but it's so hard to pull out of it. The consequences of getting into trouble. And virtue prevents you going down the wrong way. If you have the virtue attitudes that are classic, even within the Greeks or within the Buddhists, the 8 paths involved, helps you so it doesn't damage your emotional state, which rests in your heart. I contend you have your mind, you have the emotional state of your heart. It's where emotions really emanate, and when you get damaged emotionally, it hurts your heart. And then you got your soul. I view the soul as part of a link to your body, because your behavior is done through your body, which affects the soul, that can affect your heart, which affects your mind. So you can go mind, heart, and soul, or soul, mind, or heart to soul to mind. There's many ways those 3 words link together and flow together involved. So you go this way. All this is real, and what you have to do. And you, as an individual, have to realize the power you have to alter what state you want to be. You create your physical, emotional, mental attitude each day, each one, and value time. Value what you watch. Value what's around you that has good, positive emotion. I use the word positive neutral and negative, because I find things that are positive will make you physically strong. There's things that are neutral, doesn't affect your energy or strength in any way, but negative always makes you physically weak. I can prove it physically. I've tested it out on a lot of people, that whole concept, at a drug rehab. And it was very simple. If you put something negative on your heart, your arm goes weak. You put something positive on your heart, you always go strong. You can put it in a paper bag and be neutral, and it will show that. That's a technique. Now, I'm going to give a clue on something. Here's a word. The more you feel, the less you think. The more you think, the less you... When you're coming out of alcohol or trying to do drugs and stuff, your mind is going a mile a minute because the body is numb. The more you feel what you're doing, the more you're at the moment you can calm yourself down. Otherwise the mind can just spiral out and you just get more impulsive and you want to go out and do something, and not in a good way, in an exciting way, which is always dangerous. So here's a technique. I got a whole bunch of techniques to ultrasonic. How about doing this? This is out of Qigong. Now let me explain Qigong. That's Q-I-G-O-N-G, or you can say C-H-I. And if you go on YouTube, you can see the exercise. It's an exercise program to stimulate energy in your torso. I got a whole bunch of that to help you recover. Because the more you feel your body in movement, the more you breathe to activate the energy inside, and the more you move the torso, move the belly button in and out, involved, it stimulates energy. Then the mind can focus on either on meditation or on moving energy. So really understanding the fact that all energy comes from your torso, and breath is the #1 element there. Now, when you take drugs, what are you doing physically? You're altering your senses, either mental or mind or brain, or feeling, a tactical feeling, or you're creating excitement, but you're actually dulling or overstimulating one of your senses or two of your senses. But at the same time you do that, the other senses are depressed because they're not used. Cocaine will hyper your certain senses, and it's all you focus on, not the rest of your body. There's no calmness there. So think of what the damage you did is to your senses. When you stop drinking alcohol, does your senses come back to normal, where it should be for your age, condition, where it was before you started drinking? No. You actually have to re-engage those senses, their cells, because of the damage that was created by alcohol at the cell level. So that's why you don't feel that much. It's like people stop at smoking. Everyone I talked to that ever smoked for a long period of time and stopped, they started tasting food again. The smoke actually, the irritant actually destroyed taste buds. That's a perfect effect of depressing some stimulus to amplify something else involved. But think of your senses. What damage did you do to your senses where you can't feel under alcohol? You don't feel this anymore. You literally physically feel it, and then therefore you can't emotionally. Now, meditating techniques can, if you direct it in such a way, can re-engage the body to a higher level in sense of feeling and engaging and being part of your whole body, not just fragmented. And your mind just is because of, how can I say, patterns that you created under the negative influence. So this is not simple, but it's possible if you really want to work at something that enhances your spirituality in life to a higher level by re-engaging the body's senses, where you can actually feel more of creation. And who created creation? God involved. I can get into more details you can believe, but the next video I want to do is on fear. If you don't understand fear and what does it do to you, you're going to be subject to it. And what does, like Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, all the other faiths, help you to resolve that myth involved, if you want to say. It's not a myth, it's, how can I say, overextension Scrupulosity is a perfect example of not accepting things, of divineness. Anyway, this is just video 7. This is more of an introduction, expanding on what you can do. Oh, here's the video for exercising. Get your hand, arm 90 degrees. 90 here. You can sit in a chair, I recommend. Put your palm back as far as here. Bring your thumb here. Inhale, push your belly button out. Pause, squeeze your glutes. Back here, here, right here, and here. Here first, this second. Squeeze. Start here, press your thumb, and exhale as your hand finger goes up all the way to the fingertip. And then hold it for the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go to the next hand. Start right down here. Exhale. Inhale. Through the nose. Pause. Squeeze your glutes. You're right here in your glutes. Bring up here. And as you're exhaling, and drop your shoulders. Drop your shoulders as you're exhaling. Release this energy out of your shoulders. All the way to the fingertip and back. And then hold it for a count of 1, 2, 3. You do each one of the fingers. Pause for a second, then inhale again. Time. And then do it again. Exhale. And hold it. And feel the twist. Let's see how far my palm is? This is stretching your fingers out, your hand. It's working the lymph system as well. It's making you feel. You go off it. When you get to the thumb, you just like pull it out. Put my hand like this here, and you just go like this. You can feel the lumps, or I go like this. Then when you do it that way, go the opposite way. Make your hand back like this, put your finger like this, right here, like this, put your thumb. Start here, inhale, tight, exhale. Just bend it over to the tip and hold it for a second. Then you go to the next hand, and you go all through there. And the other thing you do, this is 2 things. Get your wrist here, put here, bring your fingers like this. These are loose. Only put tension in these 2 fingertips. And you're right. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, pull your fingers back, your fingertips back as much as one. Back, exhale. We're working with fingertips. Or you can inhale, exhale. I like to do 2 turns on an exhale. As you're doing so, let your shoulders drop. Let your body. Once the shoulders drop, you can release the tension in your body. If the shoulders are tight, face is tight, your body's tight. You want to change the tension in your body, you have to relax your face, your jaw here, your face, and your shoulders here. So everything from here up has to become softer, more fluid. And how do you do that? It's on the exhale of your breath and doing this. And you might hear a lot of crackling and snap, but it's arranged. Don't go fast. Take your time, control, feel everything. So you can bring input back in and not live in your abstract head outside of you. So this is just some tips to do this. There's so much more. But I'm trying to give you some hope in the idea of the word virtue. When you start getting sober, look for the word virtue and what virtues do you want to develop. First virtue is honesty. AA pushes honesty. You need it to accept, to be, and then build off the honesty to something better. Trust. People can trust that you're honest now. You're not under alcohol influence and you didn't develop the habit of lying. That habit of lying and covering up, guilt. That word guilt is a big one, especially when you get old. I warn you, all you young people, when you do things when you're in your 20s and 30s, make sure you be clear. It's not going to produce guilt, because when you get above 60, that guilt feeling, 55 on, those guilt feelings can be a little, demanding, consumes time needlessly. You can't change the past. It's not possible. Dwelling on the past is like the poison in your body. You got to pull that out. The poison from the Buddhist arrow is guilt, regret, and you think of that more than the now, and you're moving forward to a better for developing yourself more. So really understand these words. The only way you're going to change into something different, you have to have words, you have to have the emotional context to it, and then you can find the physical, emotional, mental techniques to incorporate it in you as a temperament for your attitude. All change, you really want to change, you have to change your attitude. What is an attitude? It is a projection of your nonverbal communication, that's your body, with the words you pick and your emotional state. And first thing you have to do, you cannot use a cuss word. You want a challenge? Change your language by never using a cuss word again. Nothing defaming God, that's out. Nothing, you got to pick something so neutral. And when you do use something that is negative, like say the word bullshit, it has to be directed based on accuracy. You're communicating accurately. You're just not saying it to make you be excited of saying how you hate that or do that. The more your language directs energy, your language basically has context of emotional state that you're projecting out through your attitude. Attitude is whatever you're doing in the moment. You're at this time. And really understanding language is a key element for your recovery, because you cannot have the alcohol, drug, words, attitude anymore. Change your words, be honest, use words that do not defame others or think negative. You can condemn something because it's wrong or evil, but don't just do it emotionally because it's, how can I say, it feels good. If it feels good saying a bad word, that hurts you more than it hurts anything else. And why destroy your heart, your emotional state of your heart? There's no love in pride. Oh, the other word I recommend, I have to deal with it all the time myself. Not scrupulosity, it's in the 7 deadly sins of being humans in the Catholic faith. It's like, oh, brother. And that's, sometimes my mind fades since I don't have notes or anything on that. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. And it's basically sloth. Look up the word sloth. This is what we all have to deal with. It's like watching TV over doing something else. And what afterwards, I can't even remember the show. Or the next day, you can't even, I just watched TV because it gave me excitement at that time. And I've seen the same show over and again. Seeing something new is one thing, but seeing something 4 or 5 times, because this brings back memories, that's sloth. That is sloth. Why? Because it's destroying your time. Your time is limited. You only can be so long. Your kids grow up, life changes, everything changes. People leave, come in. Time, like in economics say, is the one thing you cannot recover from. You can recover money, you can recover fortunes, items, but you can never recover your time because it's finite. Time will end for you as you get older, and you will die. So the importance of how you develop your attitude, your heart, your expression is really important, because die is not going into oblivion like with animals. Dying is going into another state, and the way state your attitude is what's going to really affect you. That's a whole nother process. It's so vast. I love physics, and seeing physics you see order to a point. Anyway, I got to end, otherwise I get it really off track on that. So remember, this is the video 7. Next video, it's going to be on fear and how faith in something greater than oneself overcomes fear. This has been historic in all cultures. One's faith in their gods, whatever, helps overcome fear to have a new experience. Fear always limits your experience. Taking drugs and alcohol increases pride, which separates you from everybody else emotionally and interconnectedly. You can't appreciate anyone if you think you're better, and it separates you from. separates you from God, therefore it separates you from all people because of fear. So anyway, this is my end of the video, this video of introduction to basically imposed suffering due to alcoholism, drugs, and the process you have to dealing with your senses, of restoring your senses, and virtue and reverence could expand and really make life so much more dynamic. You cannot believe it's infinite. Even with the damage you've done through alcoholism, meditating to increase your energy, to direct your energy, to enhance your senses, and if you go outside with the, if you want to say the spirituality energy, the holy, I like the Christian concept of Holy Spirit. There is in the Chinese culture, Japanese culture, Eastern cultures, finding key energy from trees and other things around you and bring it through you. It flows through you. It doesn't stagnate. It's flowing through you. Everything flows through you, around you. And being around positive things, you have much more strength versus being around negative things. So have a good day. If you review my other videos to really talk a little bit. This is a much more dynamic video in a way. So have a good evening.